Welcome to Dirshu Daf HaYomi B'Halacha. Today we are continuing in Hilchos Netilas Yadayim Shachris, the laws of washing our hands in the morning, which is Siman Dalid. Today we're going to begin in Sif Yud Dalid, and we are going to conclude with Sif Yud Zayin. So we're going to be saying Yud Dalid through Sif Yud Zayin. The three questions that we are going to be focused on today are: must one wash upon arising from a nap during the day? Is napping during the day encouraged or is it discouraged? How long must a person sleep in order to say Elokai Neshama? So let's begin with Sif Yud Dalid. Hishkim Kaidem Amud Shachar. If a person gets up before dawn, the Natal Yadav, and he washed their hands, the question: do you have to wash your hands again? Kishir HaYomi, that when it becomes light and later on, do you have to wash your hands again? L'haber ruach ra hashara al hayadayim v'yitlim below bracha. Again, the Rama always says, do you wash without a bracha in case of suffix? Makes sense. You do it, but you don't have to say a bracha. Suffix bracha is l'hakil. So according to the words of the Mechaber, the question is, maybe since, even though you washed, it's possible since you washed before Amud Shachar, that there's still this idea of this Ruach Ra, that it could possibly be on your hands. Okay, so the Mishnah Berurah says, Kashir HaYomi, Ki yesh oimrim da Amud Shachar chayza Ruach Ra lishois pam sheinis. It's possible that actually this Ruach Ra comes at that time, and that's when it is, even if you're awake. And therefore, again, it's a question whether you need to do it to remove it, the Ruach Ra. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Hacha lo nakal l'spalel. Here it doesn't say in order for you to be able to daven. Here it mentions, it's talking about removing the Ruach Ra. The Vadai mishum tefil in sarch bezet oid pam litul yadayim. If the whole issue is tefillah, so you already washed, so that's enough. Even if you went back to sleep, so then you definitely have to wash your hands a second time because of Ruach Ra if you went back to sleep. The So the Rashba says the whole Indian of washing is like you're a new person in the morning. You only can become a new person once a day, not twice. And according to him, you don't say a bracha because of Ruach Ra. So according to the sheet of the Rashba, you would not say a bracha because you already washed. That's why the Rama says you wash below bracha without reciting a bracha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Hini near the feel in b'pam rishayna, even the first time, kishinata yadav, well, the first time when you wash your hands before Amud Shachar, also a berach on the Netilas Yadayim, don't make the bracha. Mikol makam lo yivarach ata, nonetheless, even if the first time you didn't say it, nonetheless you don't say it now. The eich yomer b'tzivano on Netilas Yadayim, how can you say that? Haluk for yatzei dechoymas and netil tefillah u'adas harosh. Since you already fulfilled the mitzvah, the whole purpose of a bracha is oiver l'asiyasim. If you already did the mitzvah, you did the mitzvah. So if you didn't say the bracha at the right time, so you did the mitzvah, and that's it. And he says, "Mikol makom hanacha shavi asvul yedei chiyuv bracha dahainu she'asa sracha kunam tefillah." So again, he gives a similar eitzah as we saw before yesterday, that a person should use the bathroom, and therefore there'll be now a new chiyuv of al netilas yadayim, and therefore that's a way to be able to remove that potential, that suffix. So, question, what is it that causes this Ruach Ra? Ilayla garim Ruach Hatoma, Oshena garim. Was it the sleep or is it the night? But Davka Yashin Shisin Nishmi. So, the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, it's Davka in a situation, let's see Sif Tes Vav first. Yashin b'yayin. If a person wants to sleep during the day, yeshul stopping himself l'arois ma'im leim shlosh pamim v'yitlin bo bracha. The Rama always says wash without a bracha by case of a suffix. But let's say you slept during the day. So the question is, why would you think you have to wash? So he says like this: is it to sleep? So you slept, even though it was during the day. Or maybe the rachra is totally at the time, at night, and therefore it's okay. You don't have to wash because you slept during the day. But davka hiyashin shisa nishmi. It has to be that you slept 60 nishmi, which these 60 breaths, if you will, we're going to see soon in the Biurim Umusafin, we passed in that's 30 minutes. You have to have slept for at least 30 minutes for there to be a shaila. If you slept less than 30 minutes, there's no ruach ra, even at night. So even if you slept at night, but you slept for less than 30 minutes, so let's say, for example, it's Shavuos night, and you want to stay up all night, and you dozed off in front of your Gemara for 20 minutes, that doesn't count as sleep. It has to be shisa nishmi. If it's not 60 breaths, which is 30 minutes, then you would not, we say there's no ruach ra. Okay, now let's see the Biur Musafin number 43. So the question is, what caused the ruach ra to come? Is it the nighttime or is it the sleeping? So lahakbid loyu lechas arba amos v'liga ben kevav kaidim shenoitel yadav achar shina b'yoyim. So let's say a person took a nap. So even though we said, yeah, it's a suffix, so the Ramah says you should wash without a bracha, but the question is, do you also have to make sure you don't walk more than 4 amos? Also, are we careful not to touch food? So on this, some say eino sarich, you don't have to worry about it. So he says, when it comes to touching food, you should be careful not to touch food after you wake up from a nap. When it comes to walking 4 amos, so the Chazon Ish says you can walk 4 amos. We're not as makbid when it comes to a nap. But when it comes to sleeping and you wake up, then you're makbid the arba amos. However, when it comes to a nap, we're not as strict. So again, must one wash upon arising from a nap during the day? So the poskim are not sure whether ruach ra rests on the hands of a person who wakes up from a daytime nap. It's unclear whether it is nighttime itself that causes the ruach ra, or whether the negative force is brought on by sleeping, which of course you do during the nap during the day. So to be stringent, one should wash without a bracha after a nap, which again is the sheath of the Ramah. Ruach ra can only come if a person sleeps at least shisin nishmi, which again we'll discuss is 30 minutes. It's not necessary to wash if one slept less than that, even if the sleep took place at night. The poskim disagree about whether a person must be careful not to touch food or openings of the body upon arising from a daytime nap. All agree that one may walk more than 4 amos before washing after a daytime nap. Okay, let's continue now with Siftes Zion. So he says, David Hayanizer Shalisha and Shisa Nishman. This is actually Gemara in Sukkah. That David was careful not to sleep more than this amount, Shishim Nishimos, Kadeshlo Yitim Tam Misa. He never wanted to taste the taste of death. Gemara Perik Hayashin Mashma de Dafka B'Yoyim Haynizer. Maybe he was only dafka during the day, not to sleep more than 30 minutes, but to say he never slept more than 30 minutes is really an unbelievable statement, which of course is possible. Let's finish this off and see Sif Yud Zion as well. Yeshno Hagen Lirchotz Pihem Shacharis Mene Haririm Shibeteicha Peh. So some people also need to wash your mouth as well. Fine. So when it says 60 breaths, 30 uninterrupted minutes of sleep. Which the Gemara in Sukkah actually, Gemara in Brachos also says that he up until Chatzos he would sleep, but he would be dozing up and down, so he wasn't really getting solid sleep. So that's what happened with him. The Dafka B'Yoyim. So some say the whole issue of David Melch sleeping was during the day. Don't sleep too much during the day. Fine. He says that the long nimsa sham kain b'gemara rakal al hamaroyim. Avol David ba'atzmo gam b'laylo hayanizar. That maybe the Maroyim were makbid not to sleep during the day, but David was makbid even at night not to sleep that long. But nafkamine Kol zeladidan. Shabal nefesh yachmer al kol panim b'yoyim. A bal nefesh should be careful at least during the day not to sleep so much. They ain't Shabbos b'chlal zeh, which is unbelievable. Shabbos doesn't count. You can take your Shabbos nap, says the Mishnah Berurah. Ein l'kaman im I eshel lilmoid b'loy shenas hatzarayim motelishan ma'at. Let's say you just mamish don't have the head to learn, and you say, well, if I sleep a little bit, then I'll be able to learn. I'll be refreshed. If you do that, it's okay, but don't do it too long. Ayin sham. V'ayin sham od shegam ze lo tiyeh kavanasu hanas atzmo rak avodasis baruch. You have to have the right intentions of why you're sleeping. Fine. He says also, it's brought down in the Maksas HaShekel, he writes that Indian Hashena b'yoyim tol lefi ma shehu adam no kafi hatzarach avodasis baruch. It's all totally on you as an individual. You have to know yourself. You have to know your situation. So, again, the question about is napping during the day encouraged or discouraged? So on this, the Biur Musafim adds, he says, the Aruch HaShulchan writes, we find that the Gedolei Olam were known to sleep during the day, shol shtayim, even an hour or two, because they were weak, it was difficult for them to stay awake, so therefore they were allowed to sleep. So it's true, maybe David was makbid, or he was makbid, not sleep more than 30 minutes, and also when it comes to the Amoraim were makbid, but again, you have to really know your place. So again, is napping during the day encouraged? So Chazal state that sleep is a 60th of death. David HaMelech was careful, it's at the end of Masechtas Brachos, David HaMelech was careful not to sleep a full Shiti Nishme at a time. To avoid Bittul Torah, some Amoraim observed the stringency of not sleeping this long during the day. A scrupulous person, as the Mishnah Berurah cited, should also follow this dictum. On Shabbos, however, napping is sanctioned form of owning Shabbos. So you can take a nap on Shabbos. The Achronim qualify that if a nap is necessary for a person to remain functional for optimal avodas Hashem, taking one is fine even on a weekday. Okay. Now, the other question which we see now is number 44, is regarding Elokai Neshama. How long should a person sleep to be able to say Elokai Neshama? So he says, V'chein l'inyan berachas Elokai Neshama, u'mavir sheina, which is the last of the brachos, which is questionable, that bracha, and also the Hirotzon connected to it. So it says later on, Shim yoshin b'layla shtitin nishmin, l'chol hadei asar chavarech oisan. If you did sleep for the 30 minutes, then you definitely can say Elokai Neshama, and you can also say Hamavir Sheinoi. So again, that is that opinion. And then on 47, he says, L'maisa, Rav Kanievsky paskins, that again, the minhag is to be, if you slept less than 30 minutes, the shear, again, is Chatzi Shah. And he also quotes the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Ksois HaShulchan, Sheshir Zman Shel Shita Nishmi Hu Chatzi Shah. It's 30 minutes. So let's conclude with this last question. How long must a person sleep to be able to say Elokai Neshama? So with respect to numerous brachos, those which pertain to Ruach Ra, daytime naps are said Elokai Neshama, Hamavir Sheinoi in the morning. Sleep is defined by sleeping a full Shiti Nishmi. The poskim disagree on the exact measure of Shita Nishmi. Some say that it's actually 3 hours. Others say that it is slightly more than a half hour. A third opinion maintains that it is slightly more than 3 minutes. The halacha follows the middle view. Regarding napping during the day, one who's able should follow the stringent view of literally not even sleeping for more than 3 minutes. But again, it's all totally on your kavana to be able to serve Hashem. Perhaps you can sleep a little bit longer. This way you'll have the strength to be able to learn Torah with more hasmada and with more clarity. Ad kan.